what, WNST, it's Friday. I've reached out to all of my friends who are more loquacious than even I to assist me here during my Cindy Brady week of radio. And nowhere could I look to find someone that I enjoy having on the program more, and he's actually heading into Baltimore for minicamp here this week. As a member of the NFL Network, he is my friend. He throws a great pool party that I missed last week. Brian Baldinger, I don't know the ways to apologize to you for missing that throwdown in Marlton up in the swamps of Jersey last week, but it is good to have you on the line and be talking football with you, and even better to have Jeremy Maclin in Baltimore.
Well, it's good to be with you here, Nast. I'm sorry that the piercing of your tongue, to try to be a true millennial here, went badly for you. But I'm sure that it will heal up like most of the other things that you've done to damage yourself, traveling around the world with your lovely wife, Jen. So,
I'm going to quote you in the book on that, Baldy. What things I've done to damage myself. That list is long, bro. That is self-inflicted wounds. I'm going to make a note of that right now. That's the name of my next book. Yeah. Self-inflicted wounds. I like that.
All right. I'm sure there's be plenty of good chapters, but yes, I am looking forward to going out to Baltimore here today for their mini camp, and I just thought that the signing of Jeremy Maclin just made way too much sense, considering how little they did to address the wide receiver position. And for a while, I thought Baltimore was just going to play defense this year, that the offense wouldn't even take the field with how little they seemed to address it.
Well, and in the case of the offseason, they talked a lot about Brashad Perriman. And I think I had you on the show maybe 3 months ago before the draft during the free agency period back in March. And, I said I think Harbaugh and Ozzie are really sticking their neck out on Brashad Perriman. They're kind of betting their jobs on him, amongst others. But, the expectations would be through the roof if they began this season without another credible wide receiver threat. And, I don't know your feelings on Maclin at this point, leaving Kansas City, and they felt him expendable after drafting a kid in the 4th round and, running around in gym shorts out there the last couple of weeks. But by and large, it was a money cut for them. There's no one saying he can't play in this league, right?
No. I mean, I've known Jeremy. In fact, I announced his last game when he came out of Missouri in the Cotton Bowl and 8 years ago. And I've known him since then. I've seen him have just an unbelievable year in 2014 with Chip Kelly in Philadelphia, where he caught everything that was thrown to him in some circus catches along the sideline. And he went to Kansas City the following year and backed it up, even had a better year in Kansas City when the prior year they couldn't throw a touchdown pass to a wide receiver the entire season. Jeremy came up with 10 of them that year, and then he got hurt a little bit last year and banged up and didn't have quite the same season. Tyreek Hill really kind of took over. And it was just a bizarre situation a couple of weeks ago when they released him. He had just gotten married. Andy Reid and John Dorsey had come to the wedding, and then literally that week they released him. And so he did this little tour, and I guess it came down to between Buffalo and Baltimore. But I think Baltimore got themselves first of all, they got a quality person, just a great person. Great locker room
Everyone
guy.
Says that. And Baldy, in our business, when a guy gets signed and a guy of your level who knows everybody and a guy of my level who knows everybody else, every person, the first thing I had Adam Teicher on from Kansas City. The first thing he said is, this is a really good person. I think it was the first thing you would say about a Benjamin Watson, right? I mean, it might be the first thing you'd say about Joe Flacco if you really knew him, or Eric Weddle. These kinds of signings, he's a good person, and if that leads him and then the statistics are behind it, that fits in nicely around here for what John Harbaugh's trying to do in Baltimore.
I agree. And, those 3 guys just mentioned, Benjamin Watson, Joe Flacco, and Eric Weddle. I mean, that's what Jeremy Maclin is. I mean, he's about team. He's not a selfish guy. If you're playing the Cleveland Browns and you look up at the stats, and they haven't thrown the ball to Jeremy Maclin in the first half. He's not pouting. He's not, throwing his hands up in the air. There's not going to be anything like that. He's all about team, but that, you look at the wide receiver room with Mike Wallace and Brashad Perriman and the guys. I mean, he's a good addition to that room, and his work ethic is as good as you can get at that position. There's no diva inside Jeremy Maclin, and he loves playing the game, and so I think Joe Flacco and him We'll see what kind of timing they can be able to here in a pretty short period of time. But I don't think it's going to take long for Macklin to fit in to the Raven culture.
He is Brian Baldinger. He is our longtime friend and former co-host at The Vault at NFL Films, now almost 2 decades ago, and freshly back from an incredible trip with his mother to Rome, which I follow with great interest, which we'll get to in a couple of minutes. But I want to talk some serious football with you. I mean, Baldy, you and I could sit here and talk about you too, and political issues, and rock and roll, and traveling, and all that stuff. But the bottom line is no one watches more film than you, and I don't know there's anybody I have more respect for what you're about to say to me, but tell me where you are with the Ravens right now, and Marty Morningwig, and Greg Roman, and Joe Flacco in his 33rd year, and this offensive line that they're trying to piece together, and Dennis Pitta not being there, and not really having an established running game of any kind. Where do you sit on the Ravens? Do you see hope here? Do you think they can win 11 or 12 games this year, and that this offense can be pretty good? Because I think everybody believes the defense is going to be okay and hold its own.
Well, I mean, look, if you just go back to last year, Nasty, go back to Week 16, you're in Pittsburgh, there was a game difference between the Steelers and the Ravens, and it comes down to, throw at the goal line to Antonio Brown that they couldn't stop, in the final minute of the game. And, if you stop them on that goal line right there, and Antonio can't put that ball over the goal line, you stop them, you win the game there. You guys are tied going into Week 17.
And all of a sudden, the offense doesn't stink, right, anymore, right? The offense won the game, right?
Well, and they did. Joe took the team down and took the lead, and it was, back and forth, and it was just a real typical NFC North battle between you and the Steelers. And maybe you win, 4 in a row against the Steelers, whatever it is. So sometimes you think, well, our offense isn't very good, and statistically we're not very good, and we got to score more points. And then you look up and you go, man, we could be a yard away from going into Week 17 and maybe a playoff spot. So I don't think they're that far away, but it does look like there is a concerted effort by Ozzie and company to really load up defensively. 11 of the last 18 draft picks have been on defense. All of the big signings of free agency have been on defense, including this year with Tony Jefferson, to go with Eric Weddle, and we know the Ravens have struggled to draft safeties, and they've had to go to the free agent market to find them, which is fine. You get them however you can get them. But it does look like they have really made a concerted effort to load up on defense and just fight like heck to keep the score under 17 every week and give yourself a real good chance to win those games that way with a great kicker, good special teams. And look, whatever Joe can manufacture with whatever's there, that's kind of the direction that they looked like they were going. But I think Macklin will really help this offense. And if you pair Macklin with Rashad Perriman and Mike Wallace, that trio doesn't look that bad if Perriman can really contribute and stay healthy.
Are you still high on Perriman? I mean, I know they're out there watching him run around. I mean, it's very obvious in gym shorts that he is a pretty special athlete and has a special skill set. Now, how that translates to 16 Sundays and how that translates to 3rd and 8, I don't know. I think we're all waiting on that. But they're, of the pedigree here, and you're talking about Macklin and Wallace and Perriman, all three of those guys are of a very high pedigree and have all played at very high levels at various points. In Philadelphia for Macklin, in college for Perriman, waiting for that to turn, that if all the lights went on, I mean, no one throws the ball better than Joe Flacco if he gets a little bit of time, right? I mean, there's no reason all three of those guys can't excel, and you're talking about something that really stresses the back end of a defense. I remember what the Bengals have done to us around here. I know what the Steelers have done to us when they've had that third receiver, that extra guy, when Wallace was in Pittsburgh, quite frankly, what it did to the backside of the defense. And, the Ravens haven't had that sort of attack. Super Bowl year, sure, but, that notwithstanding, not so much over the course of time. You're going back to the late, great Michael Jackson and Derek Alexander.
Yeah, well, I think you got to take advantage of Joe's arm. I mean, with the flick, he can throw the ball as well as anybody in the NFC North. He's got a big arm, and when they had Torrey Smith and, Anquan, I mean, they could get the ball, over the top, and they did to Torrey, and that was his role. And, they took advantage of Joe's arm on play action. So I think you can kind of get back to some of this. One thing I know is that, Jeremy Maclin and Marty Morningweg have a great relationship. It's not going to take a long time for Jeremy to understand his offense and to know the terminology. It'll come right back to him. But Perriman, look, it's hard to develop in this league if you're not playing. And that first year was a washout. You got on the field a little bit last year, and you saw flashes. You saw flashes of some of the big touchdown catches he had. I think he had one against Miami. But he's got to be out there in the field. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to keep that foot healthy. He's got to stay healthy. And if he does, he gets to a good training camp. I think he can contribute. What he did at Louisville was real. And there was some big days, and the way that he was evaluated was proper. He was a first-round talent, and so he's got to play up to that right now. And it takes these guys. Sometimes you got to redshirt a guy, and they got to learn the system and learn a real NFL offense, and they got to stay healthy to practice. And if he can do that, I expect him to play up to the ability that he showed at Louisville.
Baldy, we have high expectations for the Ravens because we've seen the Orioles this summer. You know what I'm saying? Brian Baldinger joining us here. You can follow him out on Twitter and at the NFL Network. He is in Baltimore this week for the Ravens minicamp, and all these minicamps going on. You know, Baldy, the Ravens have really been an unbelievably resilient bunch here in the last couple of weeks. I mean, everyone praises Ozzie universally whenever they come on from around the country, and, there's a reason he's been here 22 years and picked everyone since John Ogden, but, Thursday, they lose their nickel corner and Tavon Young, who everybody was in love with coming back this year. Friday, Dennis Pitta's hip falls out of socket again, and it's a real tragedy within the Ravens organization. On Monday, they signed Boykin. A week and a half later, they've got Jeremy Maclin, and here we are at minicamp. Dude, there are not a lot of organizations that can have this sort of roller coaster in June and come out of it still having an NFL Network analyst come on here in Baltimore and say, yeah, they're going to be okay. I mean, this has been a really rough little patch for them for these injuries.
Well, it is. And, look, Dennis Pitta came back last year, and, for this to happen again, it's tragic. But, look, the injuries are a part. The one to Tavon Young, Tavon, I loved him. I talked to Ozzie about him. He's a Temple kid. He's tougher than he can be. He basically earned that left cornerback position last year. He's a guy that you're going to be able to build around. He was out there practice, making it in special teams and catching punts, and he just has a great work ethic. And so I feel bad for Tavon, but these things can be unforeseen. There's just unforeseen. You got to be resilient. It's the only way you can be. And if you can patch it up and fill it in and find another body, then that's also a product of Ozzie because there's some cap space to be able to do it. And you you insure yourself in case things like this happen. And all of a sudden, a guy like Maclin who comes available, you keep coming and scoop him up. Now, I don't think that was any part of their game plan to do that, but it sure is nice to reinforce a position that looked like it needed it when a guy like Maclin comes available, and that's a credit to how they manage the cap.
Well, and I guess it's a credit to the organization in general that they can sort of make a kick save and make something out of nothing because certainly for, if had I talked to you 2 days after the draft, Baldy, we would have been talking about how they didn't help Joe on offense and where are they going to get the help. And someone like Ozzie would say, just relax, we don't have to play this week. Something will happen. Something will shake out of the tree. And damn if it didn't. And, hey, the Eric Decker thing's still sort of sitting out there. He's going to play football for somebody not named the Jets this year, too.
Yeah, I think it would be tough to sign two. I'm sure that you can have a discussion about it, but that'd be a lot of money to commit to one position here within a week in the off season. I don't know exactly what their books look like, but you can have that conversation. I just don't see that happening right now. But because if you go back to Steve Bisciotti, sometimes you just got to develop your own players, and so Brashad Perriman was a valuable asset that they really invested heavily in. I think you still got to see what he can do before you just kind of scratch him off the list and let's go plug in, an 8-year veteran in Eric Decker. I know Decker can help any team in this league right now. He's a great, tough kid, and who came off, an injury-hard year last year. But that guy is a good football player and a tough guy. But I think you got to allow Brashard to get out there, get healthy, and really help develop him. And I don't think that if that happens, I don't think anybody will be disappointed in the results.
You think Danny Woodhead's going to be a big contributor here, Baldy, in this offense?
Well, I mean, he has a third down role. He's always had a third down role in New England. And then in San Diego, he was a big contributor. He catches the ball really well. He understands protections. He's got a former teammate, Gueto, there that he knows real well. Look, he's had some major injuries. You just never know when the compounding of those injuries are going to really add up and take its toll. Now, I'm sure they did the homework on the physical and where he's at right now, but, he missed a big part of the season. He's missed parts of other seasons. But he's another tough kid that will have a role on this team if he's healthy. And so I do think that if he's healthy, he's going to contribute.
Brian Baldinger joining us here from NFL Network. All right, Baldy, here comes the fun part of the show where you get to tell me how in the world you and your mom wound up in Rome and how much fun that was. My mom is, 97, so she's a little past the point where we could take her to Rome, but she did go to Cancun when she was 91, and the pictures of her drinking beer in Cancun was hilarious,
Yeah, well, my mom has never met a glass of Chardonnay she didn't like, Nestor. So, and she's 84. When your parents, say start getting past 80, and in your case past 90, I see your mom in the back seat with you and Jen all the time. You're taking that selfie to the rearview mirror. It's awesome. I just think when you get them like that, whatever time you can get with them, where you're just seeing one of the great cities of the world and some of the great monuments of the world, you got to take advantage of it. My mom wanted to go to Rome. I'm like, let's go.
Your mom had never been to Rome. Is that correct?
She'd been there one time, but it was like 30 years ago, and it was a little tour that she took with a bunch of her girlfriends when they were living in Germany. So she didn't really get to see it the way I wanted to show it to her. So, a real Vatican tour and a little visit with the Pope and, a bus, a train ride up to Florence to go see David and Michelangelo's paintings and all that. So it was a good 6 days in Italy where we just took advantage of some good tour guides and some quality time with Mom and to let the rest of the family know that, man, there is no slowdown in our unbelievable mother.
Now, right, or her boys, from what I can tell as well. Hey, Baldy, hope to see you two this weekend. Hope you get a good look on the Ravens. Hope they get out of this thing without any more injuries. I mean, that really is the dark side of all of these mini camps, right? Somebody somewhere is going to get hurt. That's just sort of inevitable. It's football, right?
Well, it is football. You hate to see it, when it's non-contact and you're kind of just running around, in your underwear and T-shirts and stuff. But it does happen. It has happened in other places around the league. I mean, it's about the next guy up, and it's unfortunate. Hopefully, they get through today and tomorrow, and there isn't any more sustained injuries. But I don't know. I want to go take a look at this team and talk to some of these guys and see where they are right now with some of this young talent, and can they really help contribute and get this team back on track and back to the playoffs this year.
Now, you are in the middle of something that, I've stolen your heart as well as stealing your guest room on my tour. By the way, it will be 3 years ago this week that I wound up on your couch for the tour. It was June 19th, in Philadelphia. Went from Yankee Stadium down to Philly. But you're doing a very similar thing on NFL Network, right? Like 32 camps in 32 days, and this is your little Baldy travel tour, right?
Starting the Baldy tour. You see me. I was at the Bean in Millennium Park in Chicago yesterday, and I'll be coming to the Crab Town here pretty soon. But really, I just took a look at all 32 teams. We had some free time, NFL Network and some of our shows, and I just wanted to look at the teams off season and did they help themselves? Did they improve themselves? What's their weakness? What didn't they address? And kind of give it an overview in basically 4 or 5 plays. You can't tell the whole off season, but look at their free agency, look at their draft, look at the trades, look at the players they've jettisoned, and how are they situated right now, getting ready to start the 2017 season. So it's been a fun exercise. It's been a lot of work, but I really feel like we're kind of giving you a snapshot of where these teams are in the league here, getting ready for training camp.
Feel good about the Ravens? Should Ravens fans feel optimistic about doing good things this year?
Yeah, I know everybody realized the Ravens haven't been in the playoffs in 3 of the last 4 years, and does that trend continue? I think all these divisions are wildly competitive. I know Cincinnati's better. Pittsburgh stays healthy. We know what they can be offensively. But I believe the Ravens are going to be right in the mix. They started off hot last year, won a lot of tough games early, and then they kind of fizzled, and they went on this little roller coaster. But I like the way the Ravens are going to be able to defend this year. And I think offensively, if they're just in the middle of the pack right now, I think this team is certainly capable of winning 10 or 11 games and making that playoff run.
Well, from your lips to the NFL God's ears, we certainly hope so. Baldy, safe travels. Always great to catch up with you, my friend. Sorry I missed your soiree, but our time will come before the summer is over and we get back into this. We do have a little downtime here coming up for a month. Any travel dog excursions? Any Costa Rica? Any swimming with the seals off the coast of Antarctica and seeing that shelf break off on the south part of the world, or no?
I could be like swimming with some whale sharks, in Belize, Nestor here the next month, or I could be pitching tent on some, vacant beach in Costa Rica here. So I haven't figured it out exactly.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to figure out what 10-day span is best, but yeah, we're still working on it right now a little bit.
I am taking my wife to London in July for our anniversary. We're going to London, we're going to Dublin to see U2, and then we're going to Paris on our anniversary to see U2. But that's kind of a quick trip. We're doing that, but I'm really scouting the London trip for the Ravens in September because we're taking about 100 people over, a bunch of WNST listeners going over to London. I haven't been to London since 1998, Baldy, so I gotta catch up on this NFL London thing in time to make sure we have a great party over there when we play the Jaguars in week 3. So I'm doing a little pre-London trip.
Are they playing at Tottenham Court?
No, they're playing at Wembley. Wembley.
Playing at Wembley?
Yeah.
Well, I was there last year for the Bengals and Redskin game, and I got to tell you, Nasty, whatever level of tailgating you have been at for Raven games in recent years, you're going to take it up a few notches when you get to London and you get to Wembley. It's a phenomenal scene, and the Brits know how to throw a party. They are totally into football. You will be surprised by how up to date they are, how competitive they are, and how much they follow the American game. It's really a sight to see.
Well, the kid that saved my wife's life, he and his brother are huge NFL fans. I mean, they live in Germany, and, they remember the Frankfurt Galaxy, and I remember you were over there calling games. I mean, that's part of your whole background is you did that league over there, so you were there from the beginning. But, hey, man, I welcome you to Baltimore. We'll talk some more London before September 24th so I can get Baldy's London travel tips. But we're taking him to the Eye. We're doing the Emirates. We're going to eat some fish and chips. We're going to have some pints. We're going to do it up. We're going to have a jolly good time, man.
I look forward to it, Nasty.
You got it, Baldy.
Talk to you soon down the road, buddy.
Love you, brother. There he goes, Baldy. He is Baldy NFL and Brian Baldinger at the NFL Network. You can follow his journey out on social media. And he is my Facebook friend and sometimes running mate for concerts and football and baseball and I don't know. I love Brian Baldinger. I'm unabashed about it. I'm out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear. Our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Last but never least, any breaking news, and we hope there's none out of Ravens camp that don't include more signings. Eric Decker. I don't buy that either, by the way. I'm on Baldy's side of the fence here. I think they're done. But if there is breaking news, you'll get it first in the WNST Tech Service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday. He'll be driving you home, getting you ready for the weekend. Birds taking on the Cardinals this weekend, and in a free fall in the American League East, which we've been documenting all week here. I am Nestor. You can find me out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. You can always email me, nasty@WNST.net. Chapter 5 of the Peter Principles now live out at WNST.net, and I'm getting into the The dark era, King Peter silencing John Miller and the local media. That is Chapter 5. It's now live out at WNST.net. We are WNST.net AM 1570 and WNST's house in Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.